Welcome, everyone. Thanks again for tuning in to another episode of Topic UFO. I am your host, Rick Scouler. Tonight, our guest is Marc Brinkerhoff. And Marc is a lifelong contactee with benevolent ETs. And he also has, I guess you would say, an uncanny ability to either know where these UFOs are going to be or how to communicate and have them appear. And he just doesn't talk about it, he photographs it as well. And he has got tons of photographs. And I think you're going to find this quite amazing. Because I want to have as much time with Marc as I can tonight, we're going to go ahead and just bring him on. Marc, are you out there, sir?
Yes, I am. Hi, Rick.
Hey, Marc, thanks so much for joining us tonight. I know that the holidays can be a busy time, but I appreciate you taking time out of your day.
It's okay.
So Marc, let's just get down to this. I must say that, and like I say, I'm not an old ET UFO guy that's been around for a long time. I'm fairly new to the topic, but to be honest with you, I had never heard of your name before. And when I was introduced to you and checked out your website, and of course we had a nice long conversation a few nights ago, you have been involved in this now for basically all your life, huh?
Yes, that's right.
And have you been out there in the public eye with this for a long time? I mean, do most people in the UFO ET community know who you are, or do you kind of sit back in the shadows, or what?
It's a little bit of each. I was out during the early to mid 1970s, just before and during Close Encounters of the Third Kind, before that movie showed, and came back a while, was doing the MUFON investigated me, and my film was my UFO film and cameras were taken to 3 places to be studied: Project Visit with Bill Spaulding, Project Visit with Bill Spaulding. Then it was a scientist from ex-NASA scientist that studied it with Dr. Nimsto, and some other different places. The UFO people took them to get studied, and they found no light leaks in the cameras or anything that I flauded or anything, because I didn't know photography, really. I don't. And you can tell by my pictures probably that I'm not a photographer. I'm an artist. But so I was studied by the MUFON, and their investigators went on some sky watches with me, and film was taken. Then I was doing talks until 1986 or 7 at that moment there, and I went underground. I just went down to not come out again for a while, because people were interested only in the negative aspect of ETs and Greys. And Whitley Strieber's book was out, just came out, and I had met Whitley back in 84 or 5. But it was the negative aspects that were coming out, and that's what people wanted to ask me about. Mine is the spiritual aspect or perspective of the ETs and what they're here to help with and what they want to do for our spiritual development, what we're about as soul. So my encounters were physical, definitely dense physicals, like we are now, like this. Also, I've had dimensional experiences where I was teleported onto the craft as well, physically. Also through out-of-body or soul travel, where I've experienced them. And I've taken others with me, and they've remembered being on the spaceships with me and seeing ETs. So this is back in the 70s.
Wow.
And happening today a little bit more now. I'm getting back in to help people with this again. The ETs have given me certain protocols to help people with now that the time has come. I was talking the same talk back in 1960s in school, in high school, but nobody understood me. In the 70s, I spoke the same way as I do today, and it was still too much for them as dimensional, about many multi-level dimensions. I was talking 12 dimensions in the 7th grade and 6th grade and 5th grade.
That was a little much for people back then, huh?
Yeah, in those days was 7 dimensions, as it is still today, 7 dimensions that people speak of, the 7 chakras. In reality, there's more than that. So I was experiencing that even as a, let's say, 15-year-old, 14, 12, with these beings, these entities, and they're actually beautiful beings. If you go to the website, you'll see them under encounters or meet the extraterrestrials. I've pasteled and this pencil drawn them. They are like angelic beings. They're beautiful, androgynous looking people, about 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 feet tall. The ones that I met in the fields in upstate New York were 8 feet and over, about
Wow.
8 to 10 feet tall. So,
well, hey, but hold on a minute, Mark, because I want to ask you, I don't want to skip over this MUFON investigation. This was in the 1970s, right?
yeah, 77.
Okay. And I think what people need to understand is you were taking photos even back then, correct?
Yes, I was taking nighttime photos, aiming at the sky under the direction of the ETs with the investigators, and my film would come out with UFOs on them.
And we're talking analog film, where much harder to fake something than it is today.
It was 126 film, I think, and 110 film, and then the photographer, when the investigator was a photographer, professional, I used his 35 millimeter and came out with film UFOs on it, which were documented as solid objects on film. Even so, they did show up, the space people or the spaceships would show up in 4 people with me in the fields, but always under the condition of the people who were with me. If they were skeptics or out for a thrill, nobody would show up. If those people left and went home with their car, they'd show up about 10 minutes later. So this has happened. Plus, I was investigated by the Scientific Bureau of Investigation in 1979. That was with Pete Mazzola, who has passed away in 1987 or so. But they documented and went out to the fields with me in Wanakee Reservoir area in New Jersey. I had a pre-out-of-body experience a week or so before, was shown different images, which I've never been there before in that area. And when we went, I told them what we would see, and sure enough, it was all happening in 3D form, like a deja vu. And the space people, the spaceships, showed up after other people left. There was a crowd of UFO investigator crowd or something that was with the Jersey people. And until those people left, with the investigators, with my wife and I, we went up to a hill and UFOs came over. And we also heard, I know people don't believe this, but it's true, we heard Bigfoot howling in the distance, and another one in the opposite direction answered it. And it sounds like a loud whine of a strange sound, like a human to an animal. But all of us looked at each other and went, Bigfoot.
What did MUFON and these other investigators, what was their conclusion about Marc Brinkerhoff?
Okay, I think I'm uncategorizable. I just made that up because I remember Pete saying to me that we want to continue an investigation. And they studied the cameras in the film as well, and the new film. And they said, but we have to have some things happen to us. And it wasn't enough that things were happening to Pete out of body, which the space beings had said, watch, this will happen to him, and he's going to recall things. We started having it happening and meeting them. So we went on that Skywatch. And then they investigated me for the next 4 years. So I think it was around 1985, 86, around there, 79, 81, 82, 83. Around 82, 83, we were kind of finished with it. And then we were all just friends and buddies. So we had definite UFOs coming over us at that time in the Wanakee Reservoir. And they all saw it. So it was a lot of fun. But again, they did that to help with the investigation, to show that there was a connection coming through. I've been in contact since I was 4.5, 5 years old. My onboard experience was when I was 5. And after that, I've had other experiences. And also had ETs visit us here in the house in 1999. And they were another type of being, but they're very loving and gentle. So there's different species of ETs that are dimensional as well.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you about, because, you know, the first thing that comes to mind when talking to you, at least for me, was that you are a very happy individual. So many of the people that I talk to who claim to be abductees seem to have very negative experiences, seem like they may even be suffering from some type of depression, something like that. Why do you think that is? Why are you so much different?
I've never had a negative experience with any ETs. I've been told by the crew that I work with or am part of that that wouldn't happen to me. I've met people who've had bad encounters, who have had missing children and everything.
Yep.
And there are ways that they can help combat it. From what I've understood, that if you have no belief system, then those negative ETs can actually manipulate a person easily. And they do look for people with certain type of genetics, but that's all I've known in the past from the people that I've met. Some of their fathers or grandfather was a scientist or an inventor, and that might have been why it was in their family. But I've never had a negative experience with one, and I've met a few. I've met different types, and they've all been kind.
Now, because most of the people that I've talked to that claim to be abductees seem to be having experience with the Greys, and you don't have, or you have not had experience with the Greys, have you?
Never. I'm not an abductee. I'm a contactee.
Contactee.
I was asked if I want to come aboard with them, and I've done it a few times, and it's been in the fields upstate or in a field in Warminster, and they're my family. They're more family to me than my own Earth family, let's say. If people believe in reincarnation out there, it's real. Of course, time is happening all at once, but there is memory and past. And my memories have always been from someplace else. And I was always telling my parents about it. And they would always go, "How would you know this? How can you even know about that? You're just like a kid. You're too young." Mm-hmm. But it was my memories. They're as vivid today as a 3D movie is. I can see it. So if anybody has that kind of experience or remembers things like that, it's probably because you're from there, or a galactic soul, as we call ourselves out there. But I want people to understand these ETs, the ones that they will see on the website, they look like master teachers. They're all loving, spiritual beings. They're not here to take over. They would never do that. They have nothing they need from a physical density planet. What they're concerned about for us as humans or as soul is our soul experience or our spiritual experience as growing. And because of our planet, Earth, in our solar system is moving into another area of space with our galaxy, which they've told me about since I was 12. They said, when this happens, you're going to see changes occurring, and it's already happening. So that's what they're concerned about, helping people to spiritually uplift or upgrade their energy or frequencies. And that's what they're about. And they've given me protocols to help people. And the people I've given these talks to with these protocols, or let's say they're not meditations, but they are similar to it, they've had experiences already meeting the ETs on the dimensional space.
Have they told you how we came to be? How did humans come to be on Earth?
Yes.
And can you tell me what the answer is?
They've been, these beings, or these similar beings like them, have been observing our planet, our systems for millions of years. These beings I speak about come from a different galaxy altogether. So they do work with others in our galaxy, other people or other space beings. They have always said that there was a evolutionary race here, so we'll call it the Eve race, evolution race. And the Adamic race would have been the space people that we think of as these beautiful beings, let's say Nordic type looks, or they come in different races. It's not all white race or gold and bronze tans. They all different types of races, including the Asian race is a ET race that even the Japanese believe they're from someplace else. I've studied the history. So they've said that there was an evolutionary race, and maybe that was more not a little before the Neanderthals, let's say, but there was a genetic manipulation. The entities I speak with did not do any of that. They observed it, knew about it happening. Not all beings were for it, but there seemed to be something that was like the idea of a giant lab. Because in my talks, I've said, a science lab, when they have their own gerbils over here and mice over here. Well, in a sense, different species or different ET races were doing some of that work with different groups. And that might be why some of them are focused more towards certain races here on the Earth. Like a lot of the Greys are seen by Native American as well, but they're friendly. They're not and there's more than one type of a gray. They look like grays, but they're not all gray. That's the general description people have given them. Large-headed being with no hair or large eyes. Even the ones that Betty Hill met were not the typical gray people call today with the big eyes. As I was friends with Betty for a while back in the 70s and visited her a lot. There's different beings or different species. So what people might call a gray might not be a gray at all. Some of them have white skin, and they're very kind and gentle, about 4 feet tall, and they can work interdimensionally. So you see, they can manipulate genetics in a different way when they were working with the species, let's say hundreds of thousands of years ago or so. So what had happened was this evolutionary race that was here and the Adamic race from space, who manipulated genetics because they were physicals, as human-like physical, but they weren't human, created this race, which now we call ourselves human, which is animal man. Hu is like in Chinese, I think that's Hu is animal. So human is not what we see in space. These space beings are not human, they're Adamic. They call themselves Adamic. So that would be the Adam idea and the evolution. That's how they explained it to me as best I could understand. So it was interesting, but they said what happens then is our own genetics, that we have hidden DNA. Within the DNA strands, there's different codes in there that are going to activate as the Earth progresses, which is probably right now happening to many people who are suddenly becoming more spiritually aware, having out of bodies, or seeing nature spirits, or spontaneously seeing a spirit, let's say, walk through a house where they say, I can't believe what I just saw. Their eyes are, eyesight is opening, let's say inner sight, like third eye or so. And this is all part of what's happening to the planet and the changes that are coming. The changes are frequency. Okay, yes, there'll be some Earth things going on, but the dimensional frequency has to do with a dimensional energy that's coming through. And now I researched it about a year ago, and the scientists, or our scientists, space scientists, saw this energy cloud in space that I had been speaking about as a child. I was calling it the blue energy field from space, what I used to see. And I always was told, when we hit that blue energy field, when the Earth in the galaxy, Earth's galaxy hits that area of the blue energy field, frequencies will speed up more, and then you'll see things happen. And when I saw it, I think it was on 2005 or so, they saw this energy field in space, and our galaxy is just at the tip touching into its early energy field of it. So that's where we're seeing experiences on the planets, on the sun. The solar experiences are occurring. The planets are warming up and doing all kinds of things in our solar system. But it's not just the solar system, it's this galaxy.
Right.
It's this, what we've been talking about 20 years, but now it's come. Now it's here.
I want to talk a little bit, if we can, about some of your recent photography that you've done. Now you have a website, intergalacticmission.com, where folks, you can go out and see all of these photographs. They are all very well documented. And the question I have, Mark, is these pictures that you take. Now, some of them look very much like I guess you would say, a generic flying saucer, that flattened oval shape. But then there are some that don't resemble that shape at all.
That's right.
Now, first of all, these pictures that you've taken that are up on your website, these represent occurrences that you manipulated in some way to happen. Maybe manipulate is not the right word, but you know what I'm saying. You had some role in these things appearing.
Yes, most of the time. Since I was a child, they would call to me telepathically. I would hear hello, would look up, or hello, just hello, and I'd turn and there they'd be. Any children that followed me in school would see them. Now, what they do is will call to me if I'm on the street, or even if I'm in the house here, I'll hear come to the window, and I'll just go to the window, open it up, and there will be a disc or a sphere. It looks like a shiny silver sphere or a white sphere like a pearl. Then what I've done also when people say, well, I sometimes call them, I do a prayer. I'm basically Christian, but I do a prayer to send up energy. And then I do a couple of words that the space beings have given me, which I can tell you. And it's on my website, actually, under, I think, questions and answers at the bottom. It'll be how we can communicate, and there's some words there. Adonai Vasu Baragas is a greeting. Vasu is greetings, hello, how are you? It also says goodbye, farewell. It's like aloha. So you can actually telepathically send that out and say the words Adonai Vasu Baragas. And I would say that 3 times. Sometimes I would add the other words to it. Om Sabasama Norm. Those are other words in space for I greet you with the infinite light of the infinite, with the love and light of the infinite creator. In my old days, in the 70s, I would have a flashlight and I would send up a shooting beam of light and I do a circle with a cross in the center. If people want to do this, they can. That's a sacred symbol. And if you put it into a sacred symbol space, like into the sky, the ETs who were there will see that. So those were my little things. I would flash the light and they'd flash back too. The same pattern I would do. People can do that. But you have to be careful. You don't want to call a ship around that's not of the light. You don't want to call one of the negative ships. So how you can tell that is with telepathy and love, and you send it through your heart, love to that ship. If you don't get a response back, which is another feeling or frequency of love coming back to you, stop communicating. That is how I was trained by the crew. Also, if you see a dark red UFO, like a mahogany, like a dark red, not ruby red, darker red, don't focus to it. It's usually of a negative frequency. Stay with the white, blue, light pink, orange, whatever colors. I've seen pink UFOs. They come by electric pink. So this is just part of that. So what I would do with the prayer, those words, and then I'd send up thoughts from here, from the third eye or the beam, and I'd send out a picture in my mind, a telepathic picture of a spaceship, however you want to make it look. It could look like the spaceship you have on your website, or it could be a disc, a standard George Adamski spaceship, or it could be a sphere, or a cylindrical one like that. Whatever you want to do, you can send that off in your telepathy, like a photograph in your mind. You send that out. And just doing, it's like thought pictures. Then I would let it go. And I'd say, if you're in the area, I'm here. Thy will, not mine, but I would love a sign. Now, you use that. I would love a sign. If you could show up for a sign, it would be great. And then give it up. Don't even think about it anymore. Just send, I hope, love to them, and that's it. And that's when they would call. Later, minutes could go by, 20 minutes could go by, and also I'll hear, come to the window, or hello. And if I'm outside, I might hear, look up, or have an impression or a feeling to look up and be guided to turn around, and there be a disc up in the sky, or 3 UFOs in a circle, a pattern. And that happens a lot. So here in New York, you know, people don't see UFOs in New York, they are here. And we see them a lot. And what they do is they show up, come through, hover, and then shut off, like a flash off, like a went interdimensional. And the person that was working with me in 1980 and 1979, Pete Mazzola with the Scientific Bureau Investigation, he was a cop. He was an undercover cop, and he was an investigator and a professional hypnotherapist. So he put me through it. Plus I went through a PSE lie detector back in New Jersey somewhere that he chose somebody that he didn't know, and the man made up the questions for us. And I passed the lie detector test with all flying colors. And Pete said, the guy said, This question will stump the machine and stump him. And the question was, were you ever taken on board a physical UFO or spaceship, not of this Earth, and taken away into space as a child? And I said, yes. And that came out, wired, yes. So he thought this would stump him. But because of that answer, it turned that man around. And Pete said, wow, you got him to believe now suddenly. This was a nuts and bolts type guy, you know, and
Right.
didn't believe anything. So Pete was a cop, and he knew how to investigate. And he was a lot of fun, and we all miss him. But again, with the UFOs and how to communicate, this is what happens. And the people who work with us today and our friends and who are close friends are having the experiences. And my friend just emailed me last night saying she was on the east side and she saw a golden amber light up in the sky over some buildings. We had just seen the same light 5 weeks ago or so. A spaceship came around 8 o'clock at night, came over, did a little zigzag for us, and then disappeared. And that was near Central Park. So she was walking home and saw this light, and I asked her, how did you see it? She said, well, I was guided to look. I just turned and looked, and there it was. And I was looking, and no one was seeing it. And it was just there hovering, and it disappeared after a while. So she said, was that them? And I said, yes, that's what they do. They call to you. No one else sees them sometimes. So, Rick, you can actually see a UFO. Do this kind of an experiment. Go to that part of the questions and answers and see at the bottom on the website, and you can ask the same questions or just same words. Om Sabasima Nurum, Ni Selig Mushum Maktub Linik Tanah. And those are the words from space. And there's also a few other ones. But those are the ones that I communicate and send out to them. Now, they telepathically talk to you in English, you know, or with thought form, like thought energy.
Right.
Okay, so if you test that, sending up information, say, and the people listening, they can try it too. I would be great to see it, to have a sign today. If you want to show up, I'm here. Call to me. I'll be tested. They love to test people. So say, call to me, test me. I promise I'll turn. So you'll turn around when you feel the look up. And if you hear look up, look up. My nephew had this happen last week. He was driving in his truck upstate in Connecticut, and he's already been contacted the same way, thanks to the communication we do. And he said he was driving in the car, and he heard, stop and look at the moon. Stop and look at the moon. I think this was when we were just having a full moon last week on Saturday or so. Stop, look at the moon. He didn't do it. He waited about 10 minutes. He said then he pulled over, got out of the truck or car, and he's looking at the moon, and a UFO came on, popped on. He said and circled the moon 3 times, and then it went zip. And he took pictures with his cell phone. He got 2 clips of it, one in 1 6 o'clock position and a 2 o'clock position. And he was all excited about that. So he had the feeling to look and stop, and he heard. So that's what they test you. They test like that.
And I will try this. And for the viewers out there, if you go to Mark's website, intergalacticmission.com, get the information. And if you're successful, please let me know, because I would love to have you on the show to tell us your experience.
That's true.
Now, Mark,
Sorry,
these quote unquote UFOs, are we saying that there's some entity in there driving this thing around when you see these things, or are these unmanned or unentitied, or what are they exactly?
The spheres, they're silver or white spheres. They can be anywhere from 20 to 30 feet diameter, maybe even bigger. The ones I've seen have been about 30-foot diameters. They look like giant silver pinballs. Some of them are very mirrored and transparent looking with mirrored effects. All smooth, no seams. Yes, those usually have a crew of about 5, maybe 10. And then there's others that they use as probes. We had a probe in our apartment. Looks like a silver ball. It's about the size of a wiffle ball. It's about that size. It's bigger than a baseball. And Pete was here. Pete Mazzola was here interviewing me back in 1979. And I saw it up in the corner. It just appeared and it came on. I had a window that was open too.
This was in your house?
Yeah. I've seen them before in my house upstate. I said to Pete, if you move very slowly, because he was behind. It was behind him, up in the corner of our apartment, behind me actually. And I said, if you just turn slowly, but peripherally look, you'll see a probe up there. It's a silver little ball. But he was so excited, he turned a little faster, and it went out the window like that. So it went zooming out the window. He saw it zoom out. I mean, what the heck was that? I said, that was the probe. He said, ah. But I didn't have a camera. We don't have a camera around usually to take pictures. Today, I'll have a camera and my binoculars. I always have binoculars when you look at a UFO, because sometimes you're seeing something else. You want to be sure you're looking at a spaceship. Right. You could see an airplane or a balloon with a tail. So in New York, you get balloons. So I always have binoculars, and I know when I have balloons I'm looking at. So the ones I'm filming are UFOs, and when they stop, they go and they shut off. And that's their way of saying hi. We've also had Dimensional Doorway actually show up with one of these UFOs.
I take it you must get some skeptics that refer to these mylar balloons and say, oh, that's just what those are. What's your response to that?
You can tell. I've seen them, and I didn't film them. I don't film mylar balloons. People have thought they might be looking at something like that. The mylar will have usually silver one side and a color on the other side. And normally they're not usually showing mylar around here in New York, but I think still they get out there at these party stores. But they'll have a long tail with them. You can see the tails. The ones you've seen on the website, they're reflective pictures of two together. They have white flashing coming out like that. That these beings inside are from a command around our planet Earth here. You might have heard of them. They're called the Ashtar Command. These people are ethereal people, and they will show up most of the time when I'm taking pictures too. They call them plasma shoots, and they will shoot these silvery white reflectors. And when they're high up and you say, I just lost you, I'm looking, and I just took my camera and I couldn't see where they were, I'll ask them to do the plasma shoot, and they do. And then they reflect and reflect and reflect. And then they stop once you say, okay, I got you. And then they take the pictures. So a couple of pictures show the plasma shooting out, plasma drops that look like dots. Those are not tails of a kite. I know people want to think they are, but when they're not. And the same pictures will show the same image without those dots on them. That was when they were showing us the effects that they create, these plasma shot drops and things. So people have seen UFOs come pouring down like water, and we've witnessed that too. And that's done with their plasma energies that they use. And then they dematerialize, and then they're gone.
Well, Mark, I tell you, it's been a fascinating conversation. And unfortunately, we've come to the end of our time for tonight. But I wanted to mention again your website, www.intergalacticmission, all one word, .com. You also are an artist, as you had mentioned, and people can see your art at marcbrinkerhoff.com. I'll pull these URLs up on the screen so everybody can see them. Besides these two locations, can people reach out to you in any other way if they wanted to chat with you or ask you a question?
There should be email on that website, Intergalactic Mission with one L. People have spelled galactic with two L's.
Okay.
There should be a Marc Brinkerhoff at gmail.com.
Okay.
No. Info at intergalacticmission.com. That's what it is.
Okay. So if somebody if somebody had a question, perhaps maybe they're not doing this communication thing quite right, you might give them a hand.
Yeah.
So you might be getting an email from me, Mark, is what I'm trying to say.
You can call me anytime.
Yeah. Okay.
Call me anytime.
All right.
Be prepared, because when we do these things, they see through my eyes, I guess you'd say, because they say when you see yourself through another's eyes, that's how they say how we are one with each other in infinite light. I hope the people in the audience, if they're spiritually oriented or very, very curious, these space beings look for that. They look for the curious, open people, and they monitor everything we're doing. These beings can monitor from miles and miles up, and they can see a close-up of us, just like our satellites see gum wrappers on the ground. They see us like that. They also monitor our energy field, our aura. So you want to keep your frequency high. Detox your body. We got a lot of radiation. They've been warning us about this, and we have information on our website about detoxing. Or call me, email me about that, and try to stay away from unhealthy foods. There's GMOs out there now, and you want to stay organic as best as you can. And with that, work on your telepathy. Work on meditation if you need to, or prayer. Being alone in silence and working with that energy, because this is how they communicate. They are normally telepathic entities, these high beings of light, and they really care about the spiritual growth of this planet and the people on it. They are looking for the people who call out. They always said, "We call to us, call to us. We don't come to you first. You call to us, and we'll come to you," because they want to see who's curious. And you're curious.
I am curious.
A lot of people out there are curious. I'm just a messenger for them. I'm their little, puppy. I'm just trying to help. I want people to be happy.
How far advanced are they as far as the universal time scale? Are they a million years ahead of us? Are they just the same but different? What's up with that?
Okay, remember, the people I'm talking to are not physical people. They can create a body to work with if they need to. These are millions of years ahead of us. They're from another galaxy. There's other beings, Ashtar, and these other beings that are out here around the ethereal light, around here in our Earth and its galaxy. They work with people in the physical densities. They can come through and have a body and materialize, or meet you on the street, which I've done. I've met some of these types. So they materialize, or they'll walk over, and you turn around, they dematerialize, they're gone, because they can only stay for a little while. They're called masters. Like Jesus, the Yeshua, he's ascended beings. That's how they communicate. They look for people who are open, who are loving, who care about animals. And my message from this crew and from the other side, any way you treat a child, you're judged the same way if you treat an animal. So if a person is abusing any animal, it's like abusing a child. So that is seen in that way on the other side. When people pass over and get to the other side, I've had my own death experience. I was drowned as a child. So the thing is, you get on the other side, you think you can get away with things. You can. You see everything. It all comes as a flash. And you basically are judging yourself in a sense. But that pain that a person might have given to an animal, I've read a lot of stories that makes me sick what people do. But if they've hurt an animal in any way, it's the same remorse and pain as if a person had hurt a child. And that we're to understand that we are to help the animals. And I rescue them. I rescue spiders. I'll rescue a bug, and I've never taken drugs, and I don't smoke, and I don't drink, and I'm a self-taught artist. I brought that energy with me. So hopefully my drawings will help people understand who these beings are, how they come to us, and they want us to see them. This is what they've told me. Draw these pictures of us so people can understand we're not, three-eyed, intended people. They're beautiful beings, and they're very friendly and loving, of every kind of race you can think of. There's blue, there's black, there's brown, there's amber, bronze, and golden. They're beautiful people.
I think what we'll have to do is schedule to have you back on again so that we can continue this conversation. I knew a half an hour wasn't going to be enough, but I wanted to at least let the people hear some of your information and things that have happened to you in your life. I could probably do a 2-hour special, and we probably couldn't get to all of it, but would you come back again and visit with us again sometime here in the near future?
Anytime you want.
All right.
The time is now.
The time is now.
Yeah. Earth is changing. We got to help the people on it.
That I agree with.
Look to the sky. They're there. They are the signs in the sky. That, in the biblical sense, that's what they're here to do. They want people to not be afraid. Don't be afraid of death. It's just a transition. If anybody should die tomorrow, don't be afraid. It is as easy as getting up out of a chair. Don't be afraid. It's very warm and loving. Our fears are what comes towards us most. So be loving. talk to spiritual creator, our infinite radiant creator, as they called the entity of God, we call God. They call infinite radiant light, radiant creator, and say Basu. When you go out there and say Basu, I love you guys.
Right.
They're part of the family, really. We're all part of each other.
All right. Well, listen, Mark, thanks again for being on the show, and I will definitely stay in touch. And I just urge all the viewers out there to go check out Mark's websites. Mark, you just have a great evening. I'll hug my puppy dog a little tighter tonight.
Say blessings to God. Every animal you see, if you see a dead animal on the street, if somebody hit it with a car, bless it as you go.
All right.
Bless it with a circle and a cross.
All right, Mark, I will do that.
God bless you. Have a great holiday.
Okay, you too. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Open the door, you'll find the secret. To find the answer